Tonight's Spotlight, day 18 of the Occupy Wall Street movement, and there are no signs it's going away. The New York Daily News is reporting a class action lawsuit was filed this afternoon after the arrest of 700 protesters at the Brooklyn Bridge on Saturday. In the complaint, a lawyer for the demonstrators accuses the police of entrapment. Yesterday, hundreds of demonstrators dressed up as zombies as they marched past the New York Stock Exchange. They were joined by a nationwide show of support from Los Angeles to Chicago to Boston. Today's protest was a bit more subdued as supporters plan for the biggest rally to date tomorrow, when a coalition of local unions and other supporters will descend on downtown Manhattan at 4:30 p.m. in what one organizer calls an authentic collaboration. Today, the movement became part of the conversation on Capitol Hill. The co-chairs of the Congressional Progressive Caucus endorsed the protesters, commending their peaceful approach. And during a hearing on the economy, Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke was asked what message he is hearing from Occupy Wall Street.
Well, I would just say very generally, I think people are quite unhappy with the state of the economy and what's happening. They blame with some justification the problems in the financial sector for getting us into this mess. And they're dissatisfied with the policy response here in Washington. And at some level, I can't blame them. Certainly, 9% unemployment and very slow growth is not a very good situation. That's what they're protesting.
Joining me now, John Samuelson, president of the Transit Workers Union Local 100 here in New York City, which is showing solidarity with the protesters. John, what did you think of that clip from Ben Bernanke? I thought it was sort of remarkable. What did you think?
I think it's remarkable as well. I think he articulated the exasperation that working families in New York City and across the country are feeling right now.
I want you to take me through your personal and your union local sort of awareness of what was going on in Wall Street, and at what point you sort of felt like this was something that you, as a union, wanted to support.
We have had activists down there from day one, activists in TW Local 100. We believe that many of the complaints and many of the protests that are going on at Wall Street we have in common with Local 100, and that's absolutely true. Particularly in terms of the affairs of New York State, where we have a situation where the tax on the wealthiest folks in New York State is set to expire December 31st, and working families are suffering. So we view that as an unacceptable situation, and we're railing against it, we're fighting against it, and we believe that the protesters on Wall Street have that in common with us.
We were just talking about Occupy Wall Street. You were talking about your union's involvement in the big march that's going to happen downtown tomorrow. And I was asking you how exactly you go about logistically supporting this movement that is leaderless, that does have a kind of organizational structure that seems completely different from the kind the union has.
Well, I think there is an organizational structure among the Occupy Wall Street protesters, but we've established a committee that deals with the protesters on a day-to-day basis to interact with them, to plan with them. And by and large, there's a lot of organized labor in New York City involved in a rally tomorrow, and we've certainly been coordinating with them.
A lot of people, I think, have looked at what has happened the last few years, right? The financial crisis in 2008, the bailouts, the intensity of the recession, the way in which the impact of the recession had such different impacts for those folks who are working at the investment banks and for your membership and other working people around the country. And have they said to themselves, why is no one in the streets? I've heard this question a million times. Have you asked yourself that question? What is the answer you've come to before now?
Well, I think what you see now on Wall Street is the final exasperation of folks that just aren't going to take it anymore, decided to take it to the streets. It is perhaps what the trade union movement should have done several years ago in 2008, 2009. It wasn't done, but certainly we are joining the protest now. There is a value in the protest and bringing attention to the fact that there's a great wealth disparity in this country, greater than it's ever been before, perhaps. And I want to go back to New York State for a quick moment.
Please.
The elimination of the millionaire's tax in New York State, which is of great importance to my union and to the rest of the unions in New York that are involved in that protest tomorrow. If you make $1 million a year in New York State, January 1st, you're going to get a $408 a week raise, take-home pay. And juxtapose that against some of the statistics that we're facing right now. For instance, in areas of the Bronx, there's a 49% childhood poverty rate. 49% childhood poverty rate. At the very same moment, folks in state government think that that's okay. but they want to give the wealthiest folks a tax break, and we reject that, and we oppose that, and tomorrow that'll be a centerpiece of our demands.
You'll be down in Wall Street tomorrow at 4:30 with a bunch of other unions who will be protesting along with Occupy Wall Street. John Samuelson.
Absolutely.
TWU Local 100.
Yes.
Real pleasure. Thanks for the hat.
All right. Thank you.